The zombie Fantastic Four, like their fellow superpowered acquaintances, were infected by a mysterious illness that transformed them into flesh-eating, but still intelligent undead zombies. They made their first appearance in the pages of Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21 back in 2005. They come from Earth 2149, but their origins pre-infection were very similar to their main universe counterparts from Earth 616. However, the lives of everyone of this dimension were changed forever when an undead version of the Sentry, who in short is basically Marvel Superman, was transported to this Earth in the middle of Manhattan. He then proceeded to infect dozens of the Avengers, who also transformed into hungry cannibals, who then began tearing into the flesh of every terrified citizen they could find. As the infection spread, the still human heroes banded together and battled against the undead in the city streets. As hard as the heroes fought to contain the outbreak, it still eventually found its way to powerful individuals like She-Hulk. On this Earth, She-Hulk was close allies and friends with the Fantastic Four. Once infected, she still retained her intelligence and used it to access the Four's Baxter building, where she proceeded to eat Reed Richards and Susan Storm's children, Franklin and Valeria. Restrained by the Thing, a heartbroken Sue then used her powers to pop She-Hulk's head before she can cause any further harm. Man, Marvel Zombies starting out dark, man. Our favorite superheroes turning evil and eating everyone in sight is bad enough, but eating kids? Gee, people want to say DC is dark. Mourning the loss of their children, Reed Richards then receives a transmission from Nick Fury. Being summoned to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, the Fantastic Four then board their Fantasticar and make their way to the ship, all while frying some zombie heads in the process. Reed and the others then join up with all the non-infected supers, who strategize on how to deal with this quickly growing threat. Powerful heroes like Thor became part of a ground team sent to combat the hordes and rescue survivors, while the likes of Reed Richards and Tony Stark were tasked with finding scientific solutions to the plague. Reed was assigned to researching a potential cure, while Tony worked on creating a multiversal portal that could be used to lead the survivors to a dimension where the virus did not exist. Not so bad. Got two of the smartest Marvel superheroes working on this. We're all gonna be okay, right? Right? As the battle poured through the city streets, Sue walks in on Reed, who is examining the zombified corpse of the Alpha Flight leader Guardian. Slowly going insane after the loss of his children, Reed pours himself into his work and becomes obsessed with the virus. He tells Sue the virus shuts down most of the bodily functions, making them no longer necessary, but the brain keeps the body fully mobile, conserving extensive amounts of energy. He even goes on to tell her that the plague is so impressive that he considers it to be a vast improvement over current human design. Sue, still mourning the death of her kids, storms out of the room, sickened to hear such words from her husband. Is there a bereavement counselor or something on this ship? I think these two definitely need to talk to somebody. As Reed plays with the creepy corpse in his lab, Nick Fury checks in on Tony Stark on progress with the portal. Tony informs Fury that the portal is nearly complete, but due to supplies, the device only has enough power to teleport everybody once, so they would need to be extremely strategic on how they handle things. As the battle rages in the streets below, the zombies gain the upper hand, infecting powerful heroes like Nova and Wolverine, causing the surviving heroes to retreat and make their way back to the helicarrier. Later on, Reed Richards calls his fellow Fantastic Four members to his lab, relaying that he made an update in finding a cure for the virus. Let's go! Reed Richards for the win, baby! We got this! However though, things were not as they appeared. Reed Richards' experiments, mixed with the PTSD from his traumatic loss, caused him to believe that the virus was the next step in evolution. Calling him out on this insanity, Sue told her husband that there was no way she or the others would just let themselves become infected with this so-called evolution. Reed, being the caring strategist that he was, told the team that they would not have to worry about that, for they were already infected with microscopic needles he pricked them with upon entering the lab. See guys, it's not so bad, you didn't even feel a thing! Having everything planned out to the last second, Reed then witnesses his wife and friends then begin to vomit streams of blood as the virus takes over their bodies. Completely shocked to be betrayed like this by her own husband, Sue asks Reed if he had forgotten about their children and what they were fighting for. A demented Reed then smiles and tells her that their children are now in a better place, and with their new zombie forms, there'll be no need to have kids, and they'll be essentially immortal. I guess, that's one way to look at it, I guess. Sociopathic Optimist of the Year award definitely goes to Reed Richards here. As the plague fully takes over, Sue, Ben, and Johnny then all become overcome by the hunger and proceed to feed on Reed. Biting into the mad stretchy scientist, the man smiles, telling them this is how he wanted this to happen, and that the whole world will soon understand how he feels. On the other side of the ship, Tony Stark informs Fury that the portal was now complete, and that it was time to start rounding up everybody for teleportation. Just before they could celebrate, Reed and the others Kool-Aid Man themselves through the wall, delighted that they now had a device that would give them access to a whole multiverse of tasty people to eat. Horrified, Tony went to grab his Iron Man suit from the nearby case, but was bitten by Reed before he could reach it. He then had the others stop from totally consuming the poor guy, so he too could become a zombie and use his brilliant cannibal mind to help them forge the new world order that they were creating. As Reed delivered his supervillain monologue, a panicked Nick Fury pushed the portal into the room nearby in an attempt to get it away from the Frightful Four. As he is chased by Reed and the others, Fury then seals the doors, where he conveniently runs into the likes of Thor and several other heroes who retreated from the battle below. Knowing this was the end of their world, Fury then enacted one final plan to keep the multiverse safe from the clutches of this undead threat. As the cannibal thing rips his way through the door, Fury orders for Thor to destroy the machine to lock the zombies in this dimension to starve. Odinson complies and uses his hammer to bring the thunder of Asgard down upon the device, smashing it to more pieces than he did that rock monster in Thor the Dark World. Right after the portal's destruction, the Frightful Four then make their way into the room and proceed to completely devour Fury and infect the others for foiling their plans. See, most supervillains will fight you for messing things up. Zombie superheroes will just straight up eat you. These guys definitely built different. After their meal, Reed tells his gang of newly zombified heroes to gather the pieces of the wrecked machine so they could bring it back to the Baxter building for repairs. Later on, the Fantastic Four and the other zombified Avengers discover that an uninfected Doctor Doom was harboring refugees at his castle in Latveria. Not only that, but the Doctor and his scientists had constructed a portal of their own to lead these survivors to safety in another dimension. Wanting to get a taste of the savory survivor meat, Colonel America then leads the Four and the others on an assault on Doom's fortress. A handful of zombies manage to break their way through the wall where they confront the good Doctor. Zombie Reed then jump scares his former rival from behind and proceeds to infect him in the process. How do y'all think he did it? I think he just used his stretchy powers to just enter the little eye or mouth slits on Doom's helmet? Ugh, just the thought of that is enough to... Anyone got a bucket? Before the rest could get through, we are then met with Ash Williams, yes, the same guy from the Evil Dead movies, who just so happened to be in this dimension at this time. He then consults the help of the evil book, the Necronomicon, to raise a Deadite army of the half-eaten bodies left behind by the zombie supers. This zombie militia then approaches the castle and does battle with the undead Avengers. They of course were no match, but it gave Doctor Doom just enough time to get everyone through the portal before his infection could fully take hold. As the last humans get through, Doom destroys the portal, where he is then greeted by Zombie Thing and informs the Rockman that dinner was cancelled. The Thing, despite being a zombie, does not let old habits die hard and announces it was clobbering time, where he proceeds to beat poor Doctor Doom right off panel. You know when you get beat off panel, you just know those hands are brutal. Having another busted teleporter on his hands, Zombie Reed then takes the parts from Doom's machine and uses it to repair the one initially built by Tony Stark. While not able to directly travel to other worlds with it just yet, Reed is able to use the machine to contact a younger version of himself from the Ultimate Marvel Universe. This Reed definitely rocking a Gen Z TikTok haircut and everything. Zombie Reed is able to mask his identity using a hologram to make himself look like a normal chill dad, complete with a hologram of his dead son Franklin. He then convinces the young Reed to come to his dimension so they could work on projects together. Thinking he was just going to get to chill with the zaddy version of himself, young Reed fires up the machine and heads to the other Earth, only to realize he had basically just teleported to the set of I Am Legend. As he navigated the city, a terrified Ultimate Reed saw hundreds of eaten corpses littered in the streets and wondered just what kind of hellish mistake he just made. He is then approached by a voice in the distance, and then comes face to face with the true face of his multiverse counterpart, Zombie Reed. Zombie Reed, definitely the king of catfishing. The Frightful Four then attack poor Ultimate Reed, who were eager to get a taste of his Laffy Taffy-sized organs. The scared scientist then manages to get away to the nearby sewers, with Zombie Thing and Human Torch in hot pursuit. As the hungry human flame flies through the sewer corridors, young Reed manages to evade his pursuer, where he makes his way to the surface. Thinking he got a second to breathe, the poor dude was sadly mistaken again, where he was then webbed up by a zombified Spider-Man and was met with a whole legion of hungry heroes who were absolutely ready to bite the dude's face off. Just before they could get a nibble, the zombies looked up in horror as they noticed an entire dealership's worth of cars began hovering in the skies above them. Not expecting raining metal to be in the forecast, the heroes panicked as the vehicles came crashing down, squashing and blowing up several zombies in the process. The assault came from Magneto himself, who was one of the elite resistance fighters at the time. He then had the young Reed follow him as they traveled to the New York subway tunnels, where he was protecting a small group of survivors. Back in the Ultimate Dimension, we then meet with the ultimate versions of Susan Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, who are concerned over the whereabouts of their universe Reed. They then enter his lab and examine the huge mysterious looking teleporter just sitting there in the middle of the room. To their surprise, the machine fires up by itself as a bright light emanates from it. Thinking that it was Reed coming back from his field trip, Sue calls out to him, only to discover that none other than the zombie Fantastic Four made their way to this dimension now that Ultimate Reed left the door wide open. Aw, look how happy they are! I'm sure they just want to hang out and have a nice simple chat with their multiverse selves. You know, just good times, right? Right? Zombie Human Torch then launches a stream of fire at the Ultimate Four, only for it to be blocked by a force field by the younger Sue. The Ultimate Four then proceed to get out of the room and seal the door, and flood their attackers with high-powered knockout gas to figure out just what is going on. Refusing to come all this way without getting a meal, Zombie Reed uses his powers to stretch his way through all 5 airtight layers of the door's security. Dude's hungry. We've all been there. The Thing then grabs the zombie Stretchy Man and attempts to beat some sense into him as Human Torch cooks him from behind. However, the ever-evasive Mr. Fantastic then wraps himself around Ben and goes to take a bite of some nice rocky road. Just before he could do so, Sue goes full savage mode and uses her powers to completely explode the left synapse of Reed's brain, causing him to collapse into a stretched out gooey mess on the floor. MVP of this episode of Marvel Zombies definitely goes to Ultimate Sue Storm here. We then journey back to the zombie dimension, where Ultimate Reed meets back up with Magneto and the survivors after he had journeyed out for food and supplies. However, it was during this time that Zombie Wolverine had sniffed out the survivor meat and led his group of zombie boys right to the subway for some nice meatball subs. Not ready for dinner time just yet, Magneto then uses his abilities to launch one of the old subway trains right at the Horde, knocking them out cold. The survivors, thinking they got away, are sadly mistaken as they walk right into an entire block party of starving superheroes who were pleased to see that delivery had finally arrived. Just as they thought all was lost, the group was then shocked to see the Avengers scream out in pain, declaring that they could not see. This was then revealed to be the work of Ultimate Sue Storm, who used her powers to make the zombies' optic nerves temporarily invisible. That's gotta be one of the coolest things I've seen in a comic. Said it before and I'll say it again, Ultimate Sue Storm for the win. Johnny Storm then uses his abilities to create a wall of flame so the survivors could make their way to the teleporter. Just before they could get away, Zombie Hulk, being the big hungry boy he was, made his presence known by leaping right into the path of Magneto and the others. Not letting him Hulk smash and snack, Ultimate Universe Thing then stepped in, swearing to put the age-old question as to who would win in a fight between the two. However, instead of a giant drawn-out battle in the middle of New York, the Thing had no time for games and proceeded to knock the Hulk out in one solid hit. Gotta say, that's even more abrupt and disappointing than the Deathstroke fight in Batman Arkham Knight. We'll still never forgive you guys for that one, Rocksteady. Magneto and the others then make their way to the Baxter Building, where he leads the Ultimate Four members, along with the remaining humans, to the portal. Knowing things needed to be shut off from the other side, Magneto opted to stay behind so he could destroy the machine and lock the undead in this world. What a man. I'm gonna miss you, King. The group then say their goodbyes as the four power up the machine and teleport away. Magneto then blows the device up, leaving him at the mercy of the vengeful Hungry Avengers. The Ultimate Fantastic Four then make their way back to their world with the survivors and regroup after this rather terrifying experience. Now, if this happened to me, I for one would definitely be having major PTSD for the rest of my life. Would definitely be sleeping with the nightlight on for a very long time. Later on, Ultimate Reed then meets up with Zombie Reed and the others, locked in a high-tech containment field meant to restrain the likes of the Hulk, so it was basically invincible to any attack. Admiring Ultimate Reed's brilliance, Zombie Reed promised that he still was the superior one, and that they would eventually escape and infect this Earth just like they did their own. A few days later, Ultimate Universe Johnny Storm, still being a hot-headed party boy, like most Universe Johnny Storms, sits outside Zombie Reed's cell, who gives him a powerful craft beer recipe that won't even give you a hangover. Hangover-free beer? Man, maybe these zombies aren't so bad. Johnny, while happy to have his beer recipe, tries not to sound completely dumb as he asks Reed if this recipe would blow up and turn the rest of the world into zombies. Zombie Reed then laughs at the Super Frat Boy's question and says that they have everything they need right here. They get live counseling sessions and even live animals regularly squeezed through their cells for them to eat. Honestly, sounds a lot better than a lot of the situations in most prisons. Reed then informs Johnny that he already has their escape all planned out, but it's not time for that just yet. Totally not ominous, right? Sue, really think you should just come back in here and wreck the rest of this guy's brain. But hey, that's just me. For the next several weeks, Ultimate Reed and his scientists then modify the teleporter to get access back to the Zombieverse so they could send the Frightful Four back where they rightfully belong. Right as they make the finishing touches, Reed and the others come to discover that Johnny Storm was infected with a parasite from a dimension that they had traveled to the previous year. It was of a mysterious alien race and would soon hatch and kill Johnny and be a threat to the rest of the world. Seeking the aid of the most brilliant minds on Earth, none seem to have a cure for this mysterious parasite. Reed, being at the end of his rope, even sought the counsel of Zombie Reed, who just straight up refused to help. So not only is he a zombie, but he's also rude and self-absorbed. Not cool, bro. Reed then realized the only one he had not yet asked for help was none other than his rival Dr. Doom. Having no other choice, the Ultimate Fantastic Four swallowed their pride and made their way to Doom's country of Latveria. Seeing that their prison wardens were gone, the Zombie Four then realized that their time had come and began to make their move. During their captivity, Ultimate Reed allowed the zombies to have things like pens at their disposal so they could work on fun activities like Sudokus. Zombie Reed then informed the sergeant at the window that he kept the pen that he was first given to him and was apparently able to use the ink from it and the chemicals in their food to create a small teleporter that would allow them to escape their cell. Thinking that they were bluffing, the soldier called the group out on this nonsense. However, Reed quickly put that bluff to rest, where he then had the group stand together. He then clicked the pen and the group suddenly vanished, much to the horror of the nearby troops. The entire Baxter building then goes on lockdown and the troops enter the room to figure out just what happened. It is then revealed that Reed's teleporter pen was all part of an elaborate ruse this whole time. Sue had rendered them all invisible, making the troops think that they had gotten away. They then go visible again and proceed to tear into the stupefied soldiers. Gotta say, this was a pretty awesome escape plan. Almost as cool as Joker's from The Dark Knight. Nothing beats cell phone belly bombs though. That's just wild. Despite the building being on full lockdown, the Frightful Four then use this to their advantage as they make their own modifications to the teleporter so they could bring their fellow zombie brethren to this Earth and help them escape and ultimately spread the infection. Back at Latveria, the Ultimate Four plead with Dr. Doom to help them save Johnny Storm. He then privately meets with Reed and tells him that he is the exact cure for the situation, for it was he who brought the parasite to this Earth and purposefully infected Johnny. He says that the only way he will fix this is if he and Reed swap bodies so he could ruin Reed's life as he had ruined his. Oh man, this soap opera is getting out of hand, folks. Doom, if you just wanted to have a Freaky Friday situation, you should have just said so, bro. Reed hesitantly agrees, and unbeknownst to the rest of the four, the two swap minds, as now Doom in Reed's body heads back to the Baxter building with his teammates to cure Johnny and end the zombie threat. All of this while Reed in Doom's body sadly cries in the corner of his castle. It's okay, bro. Hey, I mean, now you're buff, have a sweet metal suit, and a cool green cape. It's a good trade-off in my opinion. Much to the surprise of the other Fantastic Four members and the Avengers, Doom Reed tells them that their main priority was to cure Johnny of the parasite, which was key in defeating the zombies. The group then hold a seance where Doom recites a spell he learned from the pages of ancient books from Atlantis. The spell then works as a bizarre worm-like creature then emerges from Johnny's stomach. See what you can learn from books, kids? However, as nearly perfect as this plan was, Doom Reed accidentally mispronounced one of the words that were supposed to send the creature back to the world it came from. Now it was trapped in this dimension and would seek out its most powerful being it could find and bring the world to an end. Thinking that the creature would infect the likes of Thor, the Avengers tell the Thunder God to get down, but it then just completely tosses him to the side and immediately enters the chest of Reed and Dr. Doom's body, who arrive to the scene. So I guess it's safe to say that Dr. Doom is the most powerful Ultimate Universe being? Definitely on the cape. Reed Doom, armed with the mystical knowledge of the Library of Atlantis, then storms into the Baxter building in complete Terminator mode, ready to rid the world of the Frightful Four once and for all. The first to encounter him was Zombie Human Torch. The flaming cannibal then goes to fry the Tin Man, only to be met with a mysterious stream of black slime that Reed projects right out of his mouth. The magic mucus then wraps the zombie to the ground, suffocating and killing him instantly. Shocked at the loss of his hungry bud, Zombie Thing went in to avenge him, only for Doom to grab Thing's arm, rip it out of his socket, and use it to beat the poor rock zombie into a pile of pebbles. Cocoa Pebbles, anyone? Next on the termination list was Susan Storm, who tried to use her powers, but due to this Doom's body being pure metal, they were completely useless. He then used a spell to speed up the decaying process of her already necrotized flesh, turning her into a blonde, lifeless skeleton. Raiders of the Lost Ark style fatality? Oh yeah. Terrified that his whole team was taken out by just one dude, Zombie Reed then goes to attack Reed Doom, only for the man to effortlessly grab him and fill his head with mystical maggots that instantly ate the flesh of the Flesh Eater. Death by maggots. I mean, what more could you want, bro? Honestly, I forgot about this whole sequence before making this video, and I don't see how, because this is one of the coolest fight sequences in the entire Marvel zombie story. Dr. Doom, like Magneto, is one of the GOAT villains in Marvel history. Reed Doom, still infected with a world-ending parasite, decides to sacrifice himself and tosses the corpses of the Zombie Four back into their dimension and prepares to enter it so they could never harm anybody again. Doom, in Reed's body, not wanting his thunder to be stolen by his rival, switches bodies back with Reed right at the last moment. He then enters the Zombieverse and witnesses the last remaining zombie heroes consuming the rest of Galactus. Thrilled to see another living being after so long, the cannibals attacked, with Doom remarking, that this should prove to be a worthy challenge. And that is the full gory story of the Zombie Fantastic Four. I absolutely love this story, for without the initial introduction of the undead in Ultimate Fantastic Four, we would not have this iconic line of comics. It is such a wild tale, and I would love to see just what the fate was of Doctor Doom after entering the zombie dimension. There are so many incredible stories to be told with the Fantastic Four, and I hope Marvel introduces them soon to the MCU. One thing for certain is, I am very excited for the upcoming Marvel Zombies series, and I wonder if the writers will use any of the elements from this Fantastic Four story to tell the tale of the show. Regardless, I'm just glad we are getting more Marvel Zombies content, and hopefully more comics as well. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Did you know this about the Zombie Fantastic Four? Was there something I missed? What other comic characters should we cover? Sound off in the comments. Also, be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed today's content, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon to be notified of all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are awesome and loved. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.